Hi, I'm Vance, and I'm back with another Adalo tutorial. So in this video, we're going to learn how to force users to update to the latest app version, especially if you already have a mobile app on the App Store or the Google Play Store, right? Okay, so implementation time, I should preface by saying that it takes about 20 minutes, or even maybe more than that, depending on how complicated your app is. So what you will need is at least a paid plan, of course, because the free plan doesn't allow you to publish to app stores, and a working mobile app on the iOS and or Android app stores, and some splash screen assets, because we're going to create a splash screen, which you can use a Lottie animation if you want, it's optional. You can use a static image, a GIF, but I prefer a Lottie animation or a GIF because some motion will actually give the user a visual feedback that the app is loading. Okay, and an app downloads link manager, for example, onelink.to, and I highly recommend this because it handles uh, the sending of your user the sending of your user to either the iOS App Store, the iPad only version on App Store, or Google Play Store if you're using Android, and so on and so forth, depending on the user's device. So it does all the heavy lifting for you, deciding or determining whether the user is on what kind of device and to send them to which link. Okay, so I'm leaving this in the description below. You can just use it. Uh, it's a free service. And then if you want, you can sign in, you can create an account so that you can edit the links later on, although I doubt that is actually needed. Okay, uh, and I should also say that this tutorial was inspired by a topic on the Adalo community forum, which was posted by Bruno. And his way also works, I guess, but it requires some custom code, I think. I don't really understand this part, and I didn't really try it out, so I can't say for sure. And I've also posted a similar question on the forums a while back, and after a lot of racking of my brains and experimentation, I came up with a way to do it without too much complication. So here we are, okay? And we are actually using this for our own mobile app, which is the yoga booking app, which you can check out also. I'm going to leave the link in the description of this video. So why would this be important? Actually, I would say that all app developers would say that a way to force users to update to the latest app version is very important, because you've published your native mobile app to the various app stores, and more active users are, as in the monthly active users are growing, right? But you're going to make some breaking changes that will require users to update the app. How can you force them to update the app before continuing to use it? Kind of like a mandatory update, if you will. So you can send in-app notifications, but users can just dismiss it, like this GIF over here. And this is exactly how I'm feeling, how I feel like about notifications on my phone, right? I'm pretty sure many people can relate to that. So you definitely need a way to check if the users are on the latest version of the app, otherwise force them to update before continuing use. So while there's no inbuilt function in Adalo to do that right now, we can create our own, and it's not exactly complicated, right? As I mentioned at the start of this video tutorial, uh, it requires just a few screens. And I'm going to show you how it looks like um, when a user is on the latest version. Okay, so they'll see this loading screen, and then they'll send them to the home screen if they're on the latest version. So what if they're not on the latest version, right? Let me just make some adjustments. Okay, this will make more sense later, okay? So I'm just going to show you real quick how this works. So right now, they're not on the latest version, so they see loading screen, and then they are sent to this update screen where it gives them the link. So of course, when you click on this link, right, it's the onelink.to link, which will see whether they are on an iOS device or an Android device, and then they'll send them to the respective app stores. Okay, so this is how it works in practice. All right, let me just revert some of the settings they made just now. So how do we start? Okay, first thing first, create a versions collection if you don't already have one. And you only need two fields. So one is the standard field, which is a text field, and then the other one is a boolean, which is a true false. Okay, so this collection is to keep track of the number of versions that you've released on the App Store. Even if you are implementing this after releasing a few or dozens of updates to date, this will still work because it works from the point that you start implementing it. And do not delete any records in this data collection. For example, you never know when a user who is using version 1.1, version 1.0.9, which is maybe the first version that you implemented this force update feature, decides to come back to your app when it's version 2.0. Okay, so don't ever delete any of these records. If not, this obviously wouldn't work when your user is on an older version, which you already implemented the force update. Okay, so I've already created a data collection here. So as you can see, it just has the name, which is uh, the I guess the name of the version, whichever you want to call it. Okay, it doesn't really matter, but I think sticking to numbers or sticking to like 1.0.3, something like that, would be easy for you to keep track. Okay, and then you'll see there's a true false field, and that's it. That's pretty much it. Okay, and then this is done for the collections part. Easy so far? Okay, then next you will need to create a splash screen, which I guess for apps nowadays, a splash screen is quite common. So if you don't really have a splash screen, right, then this is a very good um, time for you to create a splash screen. Okay, so this will be the welcome screen. Okay, so as you can see here, this is the welcome screen. Or rather, it's the home screen for when a user is logged in. Because let's just assume that users who are not logged in, okay, are new users. So most likely they are on the latest version of the app anyway. Or even if a logged in user is logged out of their account, when they log in, they will still come to this splash screen anyway. So it doesn't really matter whether implement it, or even if it doesn't matter if even if you don't implement it on the welcome screen. You just need to implement it on the home screen, because existing users and new users, or existing users who are logged out, will still end up on this home screen when they log in, which is obviously the most important part of your app, where you want to check whether they're on the latest version or not. Okay, so you've created a splash screen. You can add in a Lottie animation, as I mentioned just now. Okay, you can get it from Lottie files, but of course, if you do, please remember that you will have to credit the animation author. Okay, or you have After Effects, you can create your own Lottie animation. And then it only accepts JSON. Okay, so in this case, I have license to use this Lottie animation. It's from shape.so. And then you can set the animation to loop or not loop. But I would recommend setting it to loop, because if your animation is shorter than the time that the app takes to execute the action, right, the user might think that the app has froze or has crashed, right? So definitely want to leave it as loop. Okay, and then if you have too many naughty animations in the editor, you might want to turn it off so that it doesn't put too much load on your browser. So I'm just going to leave it on because I don't have much things going on, and then you can see it loading here. And then at the page level, okay, at the screen level, you want to add two actions. Okay, one is to link to your home screen, which in this case is the profile page, and then the other one is to link to the update app screen. Okay, let's take a look at the conditions. Okay, it will only happen sometimes, and then when all the tutorials count is equals to 1, and it's filtered by the current version, and the latest version is true. So if the latest version is true, then it will send them to the intended home screen, which is the profile page in my case. And then if it's false, okay, it will send them to the update page or the update screen. And then of course this one will depend on the current version that you're on. So you'll be wondering, if I change this right now to 104, wouldn't it affect the current app? No, it wouldn't, because let's say for example, this is your settings, right? When you generate the build to okay, I cannot generate this build because this is a desktop one. But on the mobile app, if it's a mobile app project, right, you will have options to push to test flight on Apple App Store Connect, or generate an APK for the Google Play console. So when you do that, right, Adalo generates a build of the app itself. So it's all the source code and everything, and then into a package, right, that you upload to the app stores. So the version that or rather the app that is installed on your user's device, right, doesn't wouldn't have this portion, right, changed. So any changes that you make on your editor, right, will only be pushed to your user's device when you push an update. So that's why, right, this 103, right, it wouldn't be affected. Let's say when you change this, right, after you generate this build, you submit to app stores. When you change this, right, it wouldn't affect that version. Just want to make it clear that how this works so that you understand a bit more. If it's too confusing, you might want to ask a specific question either on the Adalo forums or in the comments below, and I'll try my best to explain it better. Okay, so once this is done, right, the configuration is done. Okay, so here are the screenshots exactly. Okay, so I'm going to reiterate the purpose of the above actions is to check if the current app version that the user's device has installed is the latest version or an outdated version, right? So if it's the latest version, okay, because it's true, and then it will send them to the home screen. If it's not true, then send them to the update screen, right? So this part is already done. You must make sure that the settings are all set correctly. If not, it wouldn't work. Okay, before we continue, right, we look at the update app screen. So this one is just a very simple screen. So it can be a very simple, just a description, and then of course you need a button to show or to make it easier for your user, right, to just click on the button and then get sent to the app store to update the app right away. Because the last thing you want is the user seeing an update screen and then they just decide not to use your app altogether. So of course here is the one link.to link, which will handle, and then you might want to check it as use in-app browser, so that you open this link in the app and then send them to the respective app stores. Okay, now what next, right? Make sure to do this for every version of your app. So at any point, only the latest version is marked as true for the latest version. So regardless of the current version, this welcome screen always checks, or this splash screen always checks if the current version that user has installed on his or her device is the latest. As long as it's not the latest, it will direct them to the update screen. This is to take care of inactive users who have your app but a few versions behind the latest one. Only if the splash screen of the user's installed app version is marked true will the app send the user to the home screen. Okay? And make sure that you only change the latest version in the database after Apple and Google have approved your newly submitted build on the app stores. Because Apple can take up to 3 business days versus Google, which might only take about an hour or so, especially if you already have versions on the Google Play Store. All right. Okay, before I go on to the next section, right? Let's say you've already published the new versions on the App Store. It's already approved. Okay, what do you do next, right? So you come here, database, right? Go to your records, your database, your versions data collections, and then as you can see, because right now it's marked as the latest version, which is the 1031, which is for this screen. So let's imagine this is the current home screen for your users. So you want them to update the app right now, right? So what do? You mark 104 as true, which is the next version, right? And then you mark the previous version, which is the current version, as false. Okay, when that happens, the user will be sent to the update screen. Okay? And then, of course, if it's, so let's say this screen, right, is the new version. So you have to update, right? 104, 104. Okay, doing this now just to simulate, let's say you've already submitted the updated version to the App Store and it's ready for the update to be pushed. Okay, so once they updated the app, they will be sent to the home screen instead of the update screen already. So you just keep doing this for new versions of your app every now and then when you make edits. All right. I hope it makes sense so far. And you might be asking, why don't we perform this conditional action on the home screen instead? So if your users are outside of the US, which ours are, okay, it might take 0.5 to 1 second to execute the conditional action since it's dependent on the database API call and the download servers are in the US. So in some cases, some users might tap on something else before they are sent to the update screen if they are on an outdated version. So I've tested this myself in Singapore, which is in Southeast Asia, so I can vouch that the latency can really be up to a second, which is more than enough time for a regular app user to just click to another screen before the app sends the user to the update screen. Okay, so as you can see, right, it takes, honestly, at least half a second, at least half a second. And if the Adalo servers are loaded, it might take up to a second, right? So when you see this screen, right, if there are only a few things for you to click on, if you're a regular user, right, the first thing that you open the app, right, is definitely to book classes, right, or check the booked or the classes that you've booked. So this is not obviously not the actual home screen of our app. It's just a testing ground thing that I commonly use to test out new features to add. But this is practically similar. There are only a few items for you to click on the home screen, right? That's I guess basic user UX and UI. So since that's the case, right, you definitely want to have the splash screen so that a user cannot interact with anything before the app checks. And then the workflow for future updates. This will always be make edits to your app. You can change whatever stuff, everything. And then the last part, right, is to change the condition on the splash screen, like how I did it just now. So if the current version is 104 right now, okay, the next version is 105, right? So I added a new record 105, okay, and then I'll generate the builds in Adalo, okay. Oh, sorry, before generating the builds on Adalo, you have to change the conditions here. So if I'm currently on 104, I need to change this to 105. 105 as well. So when the user downloads this 105, the app checks whether the latest version is 105. If it's not 105, it's 106. They'll be sent to the update screen, right? Okay. And then submit the builds for approval. Once approved, and remember, make sure that Apple approves it first. Okay. So one tip, right, is you can set manage publishing in your Google Play console or in the version released in your App Store Connect to manually release this version so that you can wait for both Google and Apple to approve your app before pushing them to the respective app stores. Okay, and then you can, if you've already done this, right, add a new record in the versions data collection. Then you can set a new record for this latest version field to be true and set the previous record's latest version to be false. So in this case, if this is 105, then you'll want to set the 105 as the latest version as true, and 104, latest version, set this to false, right? And then now your users will be prompted to update their app before being able to continue using the app. All right, I hope this tutorial has been useful for you. And if you've faced any problems in implementing this on your app, feel free to leave a comment in the video below or on the Adalo forums, and I'll try my best to help you out. Although honestly, I think that this is really one of the easiest ways to implement a mandatory update kind of feature or force your users to update the app before continuing to use the app on Adalo, right? I'm pretty sure there might be other ways to do it, like how Bruno has shared on the Adalo forum. But I found that this is probably one of the easiest ways that I can think of, right? If you found an easier way or a better way, right, please share. All right. So if you really like this, if you really like this video, you might want to hit the like button, and you might want to subscribe also for future updates. And I'll leave a link to a place where I keep all the resources for Adalo tutorials. And yeah, I'll try to update that as much as possible whenever I find out a new feature that can help you with your app development or your app building, and I'll share it on the Adalo community forums and on YouTube, of course. Okay, hope this has helped you, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.